Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I have another video for you guys from Seth the Programmer talking about the third Hokage and how underrated he actually is. Now this video was requested and we're going to be watching it. Now if you have your own video that you want me to watch, just let me know about it in the comment section down below. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
So throughout Naruto's run, there have been a few memes that have come about due to the exaggerated tales the Naruto-verse will tell about certain shinobi, or just because they're spastic enough to attract those ramen guy solos XD forms of comments, which is essentially the equivalent of the memes kids in the Dragon Ball community use when they say Yamcha, farm with the shotgun, or Monica solos XD.
Toei, leave my video alone.
And one of these memes happens to be Hiruzen, the god of all shinobi, the master of all techniques, the man who could solo anybody in his prime. Now, of course, it's an exaggeration, but it's somewhat of a clever exaggeration that I actually appreciate because of how the data books and characters actually jerked Hiruzen off during part 1 of Naruto, then suddenly acted like he didn't exist in part 2. Many people who talk about Hiruzen's powers tend to do it in a somewhat faulty way, completely disregarding his lore as like a meme and trying to simply scale him to Orochimaru when he was almost 70 years old.
Yeah, that's not right. Don't do that.
The same conclusion YouTubers and all subpar Naruto debaters comes to is this: in his prime, he could probably just like be a Sannin but stronger or something. And this is ubiquitous. Go to any Hokage ranking video or any Hiruzen discussion video and they all say pretty much the same hot garbage without truly analyzing what Hiruzen Sarutobi is actually capable of. We're going to be going into more of a power scaling sense in this video and how he stacks up in his own.
I do agree with him. A lot of fans will do this because I'm willing to bet there's a lot of fans who think that because he was struggling against Orochimaru, they think that, oh, that's all he could do. Even though that's not the case, they don't take into account that he's, way past his prime. He's an old man. I'm willing to bet that Hiruzen in his prime would have killed Orochimaru. I'm willing to bet he would have been able to do that no problem. Orochimaru would not beat, in my opinion, a prime Hiruzen. He wouldn't be able to do that.
Own series, and we're going to be avoiding calculations and AP levels in this video, so sorry in advance for people who wanted something like that. And I know I'm coming off strong with this intro, and I know it's going to get a lot of hate off of that alone, but I just want to kind of open the community's eyes to this weird cognitive dissonance it has with this character. Because for the most part, all of those Hiruzen wank memes are just that, a fucking meme, with the downplay being unironic and something to look at far more critically. Now, before we can talk about Hiruzen's true strength, we really need to get out our sparkly white gloves and duster out and really brush off this old rusty monument of an argument concerning Hiruzen versus Orochimaru. So most people aren't aware of this, but for one, Orochimaru has 7 states throughout the main series that he can be scaled to, and all of them have much different powers for the most part. You have Orochimaru in his Sannin days, the one that fought Jiraiya and Hanzo, Orochimaru post time skip that fought Hiruzen, Orochimaru that fought four-tailed version 2 Naruto, Orochimaru that fought Sasuke, the one that fought Itachi, Orochimaru in the war, and in Boruto. The problem here is that people don't understand the difference between the Orochimaru that fought Hiruzen and the one that fought four-tailed Naruto. The Orochimaru that fought four-tailed Naruto was theorized by Jiraiya and somewhat shown to really kind of hit his limits fighting the four-tailed version 2 nine-tailed cloak. So many people scale this. They're like, oh, Orochimaru is probably similar to base Jiraiya or something, but people forget or missed 2 things. Those 2 things being, 1, Orochimaru's body was rejecting him, and 2, Orochimaru's powers were still stolen from Hiruzen. So that's right. So after Hiruzen stole Orochimaru's powers and his arms, even after he stole and got new bodies, he never regained those powers Hiruzen stole. And this is stated by Orochimaru right after he resurrects the past 4 Hokages and his arms start like glowing pretty much. So all of those abilities and strength he used to even compete with Hiruzen were mostly lost. This is why Orochimaru seemed so much stronger versus swirly Tobi Zetsu compared to how he seemed earlier in Shippuden. It's then stated that Hiruzen at basically 70 years old is the strongest of the 5 Kage, stronger than Inoki and Raikage A, and in fact you could argue Inoki and A
Member of the principal,
they were stronger when Hiruzen was Hokage, since it's implied Inoki has been out of shape for a while and he's only getting older, and that A has been kind of slacking off and hiding away in his depression from the loss of the 3rd Raikage. So back to the fight, Orochimaru then summons the 1st Hokage and 2nd Hokage, and while imperfect, they are still all considered Kage level by the surrounding Anbu generals watching the battle, and are enough to push someone stronger than the Raikage and Inoki. This is a Hiruzen who struggles to make 2 shadow clones later on and can barely hold his staff in his hand, reaching these high Kage levels. From here, people kind of put it into perspective that Hiruzen really seemed to be struggling with Orochimaru, and even Orochimaru kind of jerks himself off about how he's beating the legendary professor so handedly.
Well, the thing is that, again, like I said, Hiruzen at this point was not at his best. Like, he was, again, way past his prime.
But this is not at all true. Hiruzen, just like he was in the past when he failed to capture Orochimaru and sat down and let him run away, is not at his full strength. So all of these feats so far are him as an old, weakened man and suppressed.
Exactly.
This old Hiruzen, who should be a retired, decrepit man just smoking his pipe in his rocking chair, is not even going all out against 3 Kage level opponents and is still holding his own. When this battle was happening, Hiruzen uses adamantine prison wall to defend himself from Hashirama and Tobirama's powerful combination assault, and that technique pretty much summed up the entire fight. Hiruzen was simply fighting defensively the entire time. At one point, Enma, his summon, even notes this, saying, "This isn't like you," and Hiruzen apologizes. And then there is obviously a sequence where Hiruzen is closely inspecting Orochimaru, implying that he's thinking more about him. Enma is also implying that he should be fighting much differently than what he normally would. And while you could say, oh, he's referring to him being much weaker, that's not what's happening. Hiruzen, even in this final battle, is still not resolved in defeating Orochimaru once and for all. Right before resolving himself to using the Reaper Death Seal, Hiruzen...
Yeah, see, again, and this does matter. A lot of people underestimate that, or a lot of people forget that in the Naruto universe, when you go into a fight and you're mentally not there, like you're not 100% committed in the fight, it does affect you. It keeps you from performing to the best of your capabilities, because when it comes to fighting, how characters in Naruto fight or how shinobi fight is they infuse chakra into their bodies and they use it to basically boost up their own physical strength. But chakra is both physical and mental. So it needs to be in a perfect balance for you to be able to perform to the best of your capabilities. And Sarutobi right here, who was mentally nerfing himself, was not performing to the best that he could. That's what he's saying. It's like a lot of people look at this fight and they think, oh, he's only this strong. But no, like there's a lot of things that people keep missing when it comes to the context of this actual fight. Like what's going on. A lot of people either forget or they missed what was actually happening.
Orochimaru once and for all. Right before resolving himself to using the Reaper Death Seal, Hiruzen has brief memories of his past, his village. This made Hiruzen recall that he wasn't simply having a back and forth with his old rebellious students. He was protecting his village. He was protecting his family. At this moment, Hiruzen actually snaps and went all out, and while he was tired, the difference in power is very clear. With this, we start to see how Hiruzen would fight normally. He summoned shadow clones, and even after being struck directly with the Bringer of Darkness Genjutsu, he then uses the Inuzuka clan Sento smell to smell the other Hokage through the darkness, deflecting their Kage level attacks while unable to even see, and then tags and seals both of them. After sealing both of them away, he has more memories and more recollections. The memories of what he was entrusted with woke him up even further from the Kage. With tears in his eyes, he went all out and destroys Orochimaru with barely any effort at all, and easily knocks away the sword that would later throw Four Tails Naruto across the forest like it was nothing. He then dies, sealing away Orochimaru's powers and 2 Hokage who are both Kage level. All of this is Hiruzen at his absolute worst. The databooks go over what Hiruzen at his best might have looked like. A shinobi with all 7 chakra natures, rumored to be the strongest Hokage, a god, directly confirmed that his talents surpassed even Tobirama's. And due to...
Well, now we know for a fact he's not the strongest Hokage, because Naruto's the strongest Hokage now. But back then, you could make the argument that maybe he was, but I would still say that he still wasn't stronger than Hashirama. I think Hashirama was just... Kishimoto made him way too fucking broken. I just don't see Hiruzen being able to compete with that.
Hiruzen fully utilizing all of his talents and learning all jutsu and konoha, or most of them, it can be gathered that Hiruzen did in fact surpass Tobirama as a shinobi. Now, it's unsure whether or not Hiruzen can use maybe like basic forms of the flying Raijin or not, but otherwise, he seemed to even know a seal for the Edo Tensei when Orochimaru was trying to revive Minato in their battle, and also fancied the Shadow Clones, so it's not illogical to assume, since both of these jutsu were Tobirama's, and Tobirama did teach Hiruzen, especially since Hiruzen had to deal with someone else in the war other than Minato and Tobirama. Not saying he does or doesn't have it here, just that if he does have flying Raijin, it would not be actually that far out there. Now, this is just a data book, but are there feats to perhaps support this? Is there any more evidence than just like a statement? And the answer is actually yes. There are feats that directly support Hiruzen being more powerful than Tobirama and the 5 Kage, even as a reanimated old man.
Reanimated Hiruzen. Okay, here we go.
During the war, Hiruzen has 3 pretty interesting feats that happen.
Well, sorry, before we continue, I just want to say this. It's interesting because when you go into reanimated Hiruzen and try to use them to guess as to, how powerful he actually is, we also have to remember that the reanimations are not as strong as the alive versions of those people. Like how they said reanimated Madara is not as strong as alive Madara. Reanimated Hashirama is not as strong as alive Hashirama. You see what I mean? So it's like, when you think about that, you see Hiruzen being able to do all of this as a reanimation. And keep in mind, I think this is him reanimated from the moment that he died. So he's still old. He's still brought back as an old man. So you could say that this is a weaker version of himself when he wasn't even at his best, and he's capable of doing all of this, which does again make you wonder what he's capable of doing when he was in his prime.
In the very few scenes he's even giving during the whole debacle. The first feat he has is when he fights Tobi Zetsu in his wooden Buddha statue. This wooden Buddha statue was single-handedly beating around the entire QB Amp Shinobi Alliance and the 5 Kage all by itself, to the point that only a few people were able to fight against Madara in the back, even though everyone was trying to help them. The Kage and many others in their dismay have no choice but to comment how they aren't even able to budge the thing, even after using many large...
Okay, I should probably pause for a little bit because it's going on for a while, this clip, and I already know TV Tokyo might block it, so just gonna have to pause for a little bit, and okay, maybe we should be fine.
It gets to the point where even the 5 Kage are pushed into a corner, and to their rescue, reanimated Hiruzen comes down and is able to hold off the Buddha statue single-handedly and counters its 5-style jutsu with his own 5-style.
Okay, sorry, gonna have to pause it here for a bit. Again, I'm sorry, I know some people might complain about the constant pausing, but I do have to if I want to get it past the copyright bots.
Jutsu assault. Shikamaru and everyone else even comments how if Hiruzen drops, it's over, despite pretty much everyone in the alliance of relevance being there. This solidifies the statement earlier in part 1 that Hiruzen was definitely the most powerful of the Kage, at least like not the Hokage yet, but at least the normal Kage when he was alive. But it doesn't really...
Yes, he said right. We did take on the Hokage, fully knowing his reputation as the strongest leader of the 5 principal territories. Yep, there it is. Although, again, I would like to say this. I would take statements made in part 1 Naruto with like a tiny grain of salt, because again, Kishimoto is kind of known for retconning things, especially in part 1. Remember, as one example you could use is in part 1 he had, if I remember correctly, Sasuke say that the Sharingan can only be awoken by certain members of his clan, but then later on that was pretty much retconned to anyone with Uchiha blood can awaken the Sharingan. You see what I mean? Like, that's an example of a retcon. So maybe at one point he made it to where Hiruzen was the strongest out of all of the 5 Kage. Maybe now that's not necessarily the case. You see what I mean? So that's why take statements made in part 1 of Naruto with a grain of salt, because you could say that it's possible that in part 1 Naruto, Kishimoto still hadn't 100% fully figured out the story. He may have had an idea of certain story beats that he wanted to, cover, but not 100% fleshing out the world and each and every detail of it when it comes to like what certain characters can do and what they can't compared to other characters.
solidify him being above Tobirama, as Tobirama is a bit more of a contentious issue when comparing him to the other Kage. That is until the God Tree begins to run amok. Naruto is yanked away by the God Tree and Tobirama tries to stop it. Using his water style jutsu, he finds he is unable to. He calls for Minato's help, but Minato was drained by the tree in his brief scrape with it. Tobirama in his desperation then tries to lunge in directly to save Naruto, but before Tobirama can even reach Naruto, Hiruzen blitzes Tobirama and obliterates the God Tree with his staff alone and saves Naruto single-handedly again. And while this isn't the most insane feat in the series, this, alongside the statement that Hiruzen had more talent than Tobirama, and the fact Hiruzen was reanimated in his old, weakened body and not his prime body, should comfortably place Hiruzen above him, at least using empirical data. Hiruzen was even able to pinpoint the effects of the True-Seeking Orbs almost on first sight, and was even able to react to a True-Seeking attack with only a Shadow Clone. Now, whether or not Hiruzen could beat Hashirama as the Grand...
Also, I'm sorry, but I want to say this. There's a bit of a plot hole here. So we know the Truth-Seeking Orbs can basically nullify ninjutsu, especially the ninjutsu used for the reanimation. And yet here we see his top half being blown away. So realistically, this should have been it for Hiruzen, but he comes back. But then later on, Minato's arms get hit by them. They never come back. So just a bit of an inconsistency.
Hiruzen could beat Hashirama as the grand legend suggests and all the memes suggest is a bit more of a different argument. And while lore is on Hiruzen's side here, unironically, he needs more feats to place him there confidently. Regardless though, he's definitely in the top half of the Hokage pecking order rather than the lower half as people suggest he is, at least without any weird amps or nerfs. And with his insane arsenal of jutsu and secret techniques, it's not a wonder Orochimaru thought the more ninjutsu you owned, the more powerful the shinobi you were, as in the end, he was more than likely subconsciously looking up to Hiruzen in his own dark, warped, and cynical way, and their final team up in Orochimaru's change into a neutral party might have been telling of that. But forget me, what do you think about Orochimaru actually looking up to Hiruzen? Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This video
I can see
more
that.
of an eye-opening and educational video rather than debate-oriented, so if you disagree with a thing or two here or there, that is okay, and you could always debate me if you feel very strongly about it in my Discord, which I will link down below. I'm always willing to have a dialogue and hash it out with my viewers to prove myself and establish the truth, or, we can find the truth together, so, please do if you really do disagree. And this is no different even if it was intended to be more of a relaxed video. And other than that, hope you all have a great day, and till next time.
Okay, so that's it. There's the video. Now, just to comment a little bit on what he just said right there about Orochimaru looking up to Hiruzen in his own dark way. I mean, I can kind of see that. Probably explains why he's so obsessed with learning as many jutsu as possible, but Orochimaru also realized that because humans only live for so long, they can only learn so much during their time span, or the time that they have on Earth. And so I think that's probably what prompted him to discover the immortality ninjutsu. Well, that, and he also had this goal of wanting to just unlock all the secrets of the world, and I'm willing to bet he's probably expanded that to outside of the world ever since, we got introduced to the Otsutsuki and know that there are other worlds out there. Who knows what Orochimaru is scheming right now when it comes to that. But anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below about what we watched here, about some of the comments that I made. Do you agree with a lot of the things that Seth has said in this video? And if you're the person who requested this video, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was worth the wait. Thank you guys so much again. Please consider leaving a like, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and especially subscribe to help me get to 1,000, because remember, my goal is to hit 1,000 before the end of the year. We are close to 900. Help me get to 900, and then help me get to 1,000. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And also, as always, links to the video and the channel, Seth's channel, in the description box. With all of that out of the way, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye for now.